Phil Coulter and Bill Martin had written and produced Britain's first Eurovision win in 1967.
Welcome, music fans. Join us today as we delve into the extraordinary journey of one of the most influential guitarists in rock history, Jeff Beck. From his groundbreaking work with the Yardbirds to his innovative sound and solo career. So let's dive in. Jeffrey Arnold Beck, born the 24th of June, 1944, to parents Arnold and Ethel Beck in Wallington, Surrey, now Greater London. He had a sibling, sister Annetta Beck, embarked on his musical journey from a young age, finding an early outlet for his talents in the church choir at the age of 10. Growing up, he pursued his education at Sutton Manor School and later attended Sutton East County Secondary Modern School, where his passion for music continued to develop alongside his academic pursuits. Les Paul left an indelible mark on Beck's musical journey, serving as his initial inspiration in the realm of electric guitar. At just 6 years old, Beck was captivated by Paul's performance of song, How High the Moon, on the radio, sparking his fascination with the instrument. Influenced by the likes of Cliff Gallup, B.B. King, and Steve Cropper, Beck's musical taste continued to evolve, with Lonnie Mack particularly shaping his approach to rock guitar, leaving a lasting impression on Beck and countless others in the music world. During his teenage years, with a borrowed guitar as his canvas, he learned to play. He soon embarked on crafting his own instruments, initially fashioning makeshift guitars from cigar boxes and unsanded fence posts, using model aircraft control lines and painted-on frets. After departing school, Beck attended Wimbledon School of Art, now called Wimbledon College of Arts. He then worked various jobs, including as a painter, groundsman, and car paint sprayer. During this time, his sister Annetta introduced him to fellow guitarist Jimmy Page when they were still teenagers. Whilst at Wimbledon College of Art, Beck played in several bands, including Screaming Lord Sutch and the Savages. In 1964, they recorded Dracula's Daughter and Comeback Baby for Oriole Records. In 1963, Beck was introduced to R&B by Ian Stewart of the Rolling Stones, leading him to form the Night Shift, where they performed at the 100 Club in Oxford Street. Shortly after, he joined the Rumbles, a Croydon band, as lead guitarist, showcasing his talent for mimicking guitar styles. Later that year, he joined the Tridents, a band from the Chiswick area, where they played energetic R&B tunes. Beck also worked as a session guitarist on a 1964 Parlophone single by the Fits and Starts titled I'm Not Running Away. In March 1965, Beck joined the Yardbirds, succeeding Eric Clapton based on Jimmy Page's recommendation. During Beck's 20-month stint, the band recorded many of their top 40 hits, including the album Roger the Engineer, released as Over, Under, Sideways, Down in the United States in 1966. In May of that year, Beck recorded an instrumental, Beck's Bolero, with Page, Keith Moon, John Paul Jones, and Nicky Hopkins. Shortly after, Page officially joined the Yardbirds, leading to a dual lead guitar lineup filmed for the movie Blow Up, performing song Train Kept a-Rollin' as Stroll On. In 1967, Beck's time with the Yardbirds ended due to consistent no-shows, perfectionism, and stage temper issues during a U.S. tour. Following this, he collaborated with pop producer Mickie Most, releasing solo singles like Hi-Ho Silver Lining and Tallyman, where he also lent his vocals. Subsequently, Beck formed the Jeff Beck Group, featuring Rod Stewart on vocals, Ronnie Wood on bass, Mickey Hopkins on piano, and Ainsley Dunbar on drums, later replaced by Mickey Waller. The Jeff Beck Group released 2 albums, Truth in August 1968 and Beck Ola in July 1969. Truth featured You Shook Me, reaching number 15 on the Billboard charts. Beck Ola, with drummer Mickey Waller replaced by Tony Newman, saw less success both commercially and critically, leading to the group's breakup in July 1969. After his group disbanded, Beck joined the Music from Free Creek Super Session project under the alias A.N. Other, contributing lead guitar on 4 tracks. In September 1969, he teamed up with Vanilla Fudge's rhythm section, but a car accident, in which he suffered a fractured skull and facial injuries, delayed their plans for 2.5 years, during which time they formed Band Cactus. Reflecting on the 1960s, Beck described it as a frustrating period due to limitations in electronic equipment. After recovering, Beck formed a new band in 1970 with drummer Cozy Powell. They recorded tracks in the U.S. with Motown's Funk Brothers, but the recordings were never released. By April 1971, Beck finalized the lineup with Bobby Tench, Max Middleton, and Clive Chaman, performing as the Jeff Beck Group with a revamped sound. Album Rough and Ready, released in October 1971, marked a shift in Beck's musical direction, blending elements of soul, rhythm and blues, and jazz. Beck contributed to 6 of the album's 7 tracks, showcasing his evolving style. The Jeff Beck Group released their second album, Self-Titled, in July 1972, recorded at TMI Studios in Memphis, with Steve Cropper as producer. The album, heavily influenced by soul, featured covers of songs by American artists, including 4 compositions by Stevie Wonder. Following the album's release, the band dissolved, with management citing a lack of cohesion in creating a new musical style as the reason. After fulfilling contractual obligations in August 1972 with a touring lineup, including Tim Bogert, Carmine Appice, Max Middleton, and vocalist Kim Milford, Jeff Beck continued touring the U.S. as the Jeff Beck Group. Bobby Tench replaced Milford mid-tour, and after its conclusion, Tench and Middleton departed. This led to the formation of the power trio, Beck, Bogert, and Appice, with Appice occasionally taking on vocal duties. The Jeff Beck Group, now including Bogert and Appice, embarked on tours in the UK, the Netherlands, and Germany, starting in September 1972, followed by a U.S. tour from October to November. In April 1973, their album Beck, Bogert, and Appice was released on Epic Records. Despite critics praising the band's musical skill, the album struggled commercially, except for its cover of Stevie Wonder's Superstition. On July 3, 1973, Beck performed with David Bowie on stage, playing The Gene Genie, Love Me Do, and Around and Around. This performance was filmed and featured in the 2022 Bowie documentary Moonage Daydream. In October 1973, Beck also recorded tracks for Michael Fennelly's album Lane Changer. In January 1974, Beck, Bogert, and Appice played at the Rainbow Theatre in London during a European tour. The concert was later broadcast on the U.S. show Rock Around the World in September 1974. Portions of this performance were included on the bootleg At Last Rainbow, featuring tracks like Blues Deluxe and BBA Boogie, which were later part of the Jeff Beck compilation Beckology in 1991. Beck, Bogart, and Appice disbanded in April 1974 before completing their second studio album, produced by Jimmy Miller. Although their live album, Beck, Bogart, and Appice Live in Japan, recorded during their 1973 Japan tour, wasn't released until February 1975 by Epic Sony. Beck collaborated with the band up for a BBC TV appearance in August 1974, producing and playing on their debut and second album. He also participated in recording sessions for Bobby Tencher's band Hummingbird. In October that year, he began recording instrumental sessions at Air Studios for his solo album Blow by Blow, produced by George Martin. The album became a commercial success, reaching number 4 in the charts. Beck's perfectionism led him to revisit the studio until he was satisfied with his work, even after its release, still wanting to make changes. Beck assembled a live band for a U.S. tour, starting with a surprise gig at the Newlands Tavern in London. Throughout April and May 1975, he toured, often supporting the Mahavishnu Orchestra. The lineup featured Max Middleton on keyboards, along with bassist Wilbur Bascom and session drummer Bernard Purdie, who had ties to Hummingbird. In a May 1975 show in Cleveland at the Music Hall, Beck grew frustrated with the talkbox he used for his arrangement of the Beatles' She's a Woman, and tossed both the talkbox and his Yardbirds-era Fender Stratocaster guitar off the stage after breaking a string, finishing the show playing a Les Paul guitar without the box. During this tour, he performed at Yuya Uchida's World Rock Festival, playing 8 songs with Bernard Purdie. Only his set with Purdie would be later recorded and released. Wired, his next recorded album in 1976, with drummer Narada Michael Walden and keyboardist Jan Hammer, blended jazz-rock fusion styles similar to his collaborators. Beck then toured with the Jan Hammer Group, supporting Alvin Lee before embarking on a 7-month world tour, resulting in the live album Jeff Beck with the Jan Hammer Group live in 1977. Beck, a tax exile, lived in the U.S. until autumn 1977 when he returned to the U.K. In spring 1978, he rehearsed with Stanley Clarke and Jerry Brown for the Nebworth Festival, which was canceled. Later that year, Beck toured Japan with an ad hoc group including Clarke, Tony Heimers, and Simon Phillips. Work began on a new studio album at London's Ramport Studios, continuing sporadically throughout 1979, resulting in There and Back, released in June 1980. It featured tracks composed with Jan Hammer and Tony Heimers. Mo Foster replaced Stanley Clarke on bass for both the album and subsequent tours, which included extensive shows in the US, Japan, and the UK. In 1981, Beck joined Eric Clapton for iconic live performances at Amnesty International's The Secret Policeman's Other Ball shows, playing hits like Crossroads and 'Cause We've Ended as Lovers. They also participated in the all-star finale of I Shall Be Released. Beck later jammed with Clapton and Jimmy Page at the Arms concert, playing Tulsa Time and Layla. In 1985, Beck released Flash, featuring Rod Stewart on a hit cover of Curtis Mayfield's People Get Ready. Despite playing some shows together, a full tour never materialized. Beck later humorously remarked about their love-hate relationship while giving Stewart's induction speech at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992. He also made guest appearances, including one in the 1988 movie Twins, playing guitar with Nicolette Larson. After a 4-year break, Beck returned to instrumental music with his 1989 album, Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop, showcasing his transition to fingerstyle guitar playing. Hindered by a battle with tinnitus, this was only his third release in the 1980s. In the 1990s, Beck's musical activity surged. He played key solos on John Bon Jovi's Blaze of Glory and Hans Zimmer's Days of Thunder soundtrack. Additionally, he contributed to albums by Roger Waters, Kate Bush, and Beverly Craven. Beck also released instrumental albums like Frankie's House in 1992 and Crazy Legs in 1993, paying homage to Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps. Beck rehearsed with Guns N' Roses for a 1992 Paris concert, but couldn't perform due to temporary deafness from a cymbal crash by Matt Sorum. The same year, the Yardbirds were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992, with Beck humorously noting his firing from the group in his speech. In 1993, Beck collaborated with Bad Company's Paul Rodgers on the album Muddy Water Blues, a tribute to Muddy Waters. In 1999, he delved into guitar-based electronica with Who Else, marking his first collaboration with female instrumentalist Jennifer Batten. They continued working together during the post-release tour of You Had It Coming in 2001. Beck won his third Grammy Award for Best Rock Instrumental Performance with Dirty Mind from You Had It Coming in 2000. The track Plan B from album Jeff in 2003 earned him his fourth Grammy in the same category and was proof that the new electro guitar style he used for the two earlier albums would continue to dominate. He opened for B.B. King in 2003 and performed at Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival in 2004. Beck was also featured on Toots and the Maidels song 54 to 46 Was My Number from the Grammy-winning album True Love in 2004. In 2007, Beck performed with Kelly Clarkson on American Idol's Idol Gives Back episode, featuring a cover of Patty Griffin's Up to the Mountain. The live recording was promptly released for sale. He also appeared again at Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival the same year, showcasing his talent alongside Vinnie Colaiuta, Jason Rebello, and bassist Tal Wilkenfeld. In 2009, Beck embarked on a world tour with his established lineup, playing at Ronnie Scott's in London to a sold-out crowd, and also contributed to Morrissey's album Years of Refusal. On April 4, 2009, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, performing at the ceremony with music icons, and had a memorable collaboration with David Gilmour at the Albert Hall. In April 2010, Beck released Emotion and Commotion, featuring a blend of original tracks and covers like Over the Rainbow and Puccini's Nessun Dorma. The album earned Grammy Awards in 2011 for Nessun Dorma and Hammerhead. Beck also collaborated on Imagine for Herbie Hancock's album, The Imagine Project, winning a Grammy for Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals. In 2010, Beck toured with Narada, Michael Walden, Rhonda Smith, and Jason Rebella. He released a live album live from the Grammy Museum on October 25, 2010, and recorded a DVD honoring Les Paul with Imelda May's band. In 2011, Beck received 2 honorary degrees from British universities, a fellowship from the University of the Arts London for his contribution to music, and an honorary doctorate from the University of Sussex, recognizing his musical career and the university's ties with the Brighton Institute of Modern Music. Beck joined Brian Wilson's solo album project, featuring Beach Boys' Al Jardine and David Marks. Wilson's website hinted at dividing the material into 3 albums, one with new pop songs, another with mostly instrumental tracks featuring Beck, and a third with interwoven tracks called The Suite. Beck also toured with Wilson, Jardine, and Marks in the fall of 2013, considering it a great honor. In 2014, a 3-track CD titled Yo So Guy was released to coincide with Jeff's world tour in Japan. In November, he performed at the Royal British Legion's Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall. 2 years later, in 2016, he released the album Loud Hailer. On April 16, 2020, Beck and Johnny Depp released a new single, a cover of John Lennon's Isolation. This marked their first record together from an ongoing musical collaboration. They had been recording music for a while, with the track produced the year prior. However, they decided to release it sooner due to the pandemic lockdowns, wanting to share it during these challenging times of isolation. On June 2, 2022, Beck made headlines when Depp joined him at the Sage in Gateshead, shortly after winning a high-profile defamation case against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. Earlier that week, they both performed at the Royal Albert Hall in London. Their first single from their collaborative album, 18, titled This Is a Song for Miss Hedy Lamarr, was announced on June 10, 2022. Beck collaborated with Ozzy Osbourne on 2 tracks, Patient Number 9 Feet and 1,000 Shades, from Osbourne's album released on June 24, 2022. He also played lead guitar on Can't Start Over Again from Dion DiMucci's 2020 album Blues with Friends. Additionally, Beck's last recording was his part in a supergroup rendition of Going Home, theme of the local hero, aimed at supporting the Teenage Cancer Trust and Teen Cancer America. Beck, described as one of the most influential guitarists in rock by Rolling Stone, credits Les Paul, The Shadows, Cliff Gallup, and others as major influences. His experimentation with feedback and distortion with the Yardbirds pushed rock music into new directions. Beck's work was influential in the development of heavy metal music. Despite a sporadic discography, Beck is widely regarded as one of the greatest guitarists of his generation, praised for his technical skill and versatility. He was ranked 5th in Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest guitarists. Additionally, the character Nigel Tufnell in the mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap was based on Jeff Beck. Beck favored Fender Stratocasters guitars, ditching picks for thumb plucking in the 1980s. He manipulated the guitar's volume knob and vibrato bar for unique effects, often compared to human vocalizations. Alongside Stratocasters, he occasionally played Fender Telecasters and Gibson Les Pauls. Beck's preferred amplifiers were Fender and Marshall, and he experimented with fuzz pedals and echo units. Fender introduced the Jeff Beck Stratocaster in 1991, followed by updated versions in 2001 and 2004. Personally, at the time of his death, Beck lived in Riverhall, East Sussex. He became a vegetarian in 1969 and supported the Folly Wildlife Rescue Trust. Additionally, he had a passion for classic Ford hot rods and often worked on their exteriors and engines himself. From 1963 to 1967, Beck was married to Patricia Brown. Thereafter, he was in a long-term relationship with the English model Celia Hammond, whose portrait appears on the album cover of Truth. It would be nearly 40 years before he would remarry again, marrying Sandra Cash in 2005. He had no children during any of his relationships. On January 10, 2023, Jeff Beck passed away from bacterial meningitis at a hospital near Riverhall. Following his death, tributes poured in from fellow musicians and friends. Jimmy Page hailed Beck's unique talent, and Mick Jagger praised him as one of the greatest guitarists. Ronnie Wood expressed his sense of loss, stating Beck felt like a brother. Beck's funeral was held on February 3rd at St. Mary's Church in Beddington, Sutton, with notable attendees including Johnny Depp, Rod Stewart, Eric Clapton, and more. Jimmy Page delivered a eulogy, honoring Beck as the Quiet Chief. He was 78 years old, and there you have it. As we conclude our exploration of Jeff Beck's remarkable legacy, we're reminded of the profound impact he left on the world of music, with his legacy living on, forever etched in the annals of rock and roll history. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care, and bye for now.